Welcome to this edition of RED-C Roundup. I am the host for the day, Pam Marvin. And joining me in studio, so this is one of my first in-studio live guests in over a year, I'm very happy to welcome Dr. Michael Fonseca.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're so glad you could be here. He drove up all the way from Victoria, Seadrift, Texas.
Right.
Seadrift, Texas. He's representing Our Lady's Healing Center.
Right.
I'm very excited to hear more about the Healing Center. So, first of all, let's talk about its origins. Like, how did it come to be? Like, it's a beautiful property. So, if you want to take a peek at it, you can go to ourladieshealingcenter.com and take a look at the property. It's magnificent. Can you tell me how this all came about?
Yes. About 3 years ago, Ralph and Linda Schmidt, who live in Schulenburg, they were met by a good friend of theirs who basically was talking very much about the need for healing and that healing should be offered in the Catholic Church along Catholic lines, that it would be a very Catholic program, see? And so then they were looking for a property and they came upon the site that we currently are at in Seadrift.
Do you know what it was before it was
It
transformed?
used to be a hunting and fishing lodge.
Nice. Okay.
So they saw that it was the ideal property for them. Ralph and Linda bought the property. And then it took about 3 or 4 months for them to bring it to its proper shape because it had been neglected for some time. And then so we began our first retreat program in May of 2023. And so it's 2 years now since we've been doing retreats there. And I would say the main focus is on healing. And so our program basically starts with a 5-day retreat, residential. So
I'm going to slow you down just a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you mind if I slow you down? Because
Yeah.
I want to know how they came to meet you, how you got to be a part of this.
So my wife and I lived in Michigan, and I was working for the Diocese of Gaylord, which is in northern Michigan, Lower Peninsula, very rural. And along with that, too, then I was invited by Father Gabriel of Victoria Diocese to help in the spiritual formation of his deacon candidates. So Victoria had just started a diaconate program, asked me to do it. So along with the work that I was doing in Gaylord, I would come down to Texas once a month over a weekend and do the formation for the deacon candidates.
Okay, so what makes you uniquely qualified to be able to help with all this formation and healing?
I have an extensive background both in psychology. I've been a therapist as well, worked in residential settings. Then I also have a degree in theology. And so in that sense, and I've been doing spiritual direction for many years, as well as training others to become spiritual directors through different programs. The last program that I was involved in offering formation and spiritual direction was in Grand Rapids at the Dominican Center.
Okay.
So Father Gabriel heard about me from some other source and decided to contact me, and I would think took the risk of inviting me to help with the formation of the deacons.
So he recruited you to come help with the deacons in the Victoria Diocese.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so then I was associated with their program for almost 16 years.
Really?
Coming down to Texas.
Oh, so you didn't live here all that time?
No. So
still in Michigan.
Then what happened was that the deacon candidates who had all done the Acts retreat, see, and were very excited about the transformation that had taken place both in them as well as in others, but also realized that because of the formation that they were receiving as deacon candidates, if that formation could be offered to all those who had made the Acts retreat, but then there was no follow-up. So I agreed to do a retreat and on a Saturday, and we got 110
Oh my word.
attendees, so
Oh my
retreatants.
word.
And then at the end of the retreat, I thought, let's see if they truly would be interested in ongoing formation. And so I said, well, I would, since in any case I'm coming down to Texas once a month, I would add an extra day and could offer you a day-long formation over 3 years, once a month, if you would be willing. And 56 signed up.
Wow.
And among those who signed up was Ralph Schmidt.
Nice. See, okay. This is a great story.
So we've had a long-standing
And
relationship.
so how many years ago was that?
So this was in
Approximately.
2010.
Okay, so
Meanwhile,
15 years ago, yeah.
since I was working in Gaylord Diocese, my wife and I, she passed in December of 2022, but we began to see that while there was tremendous goodwill, wanting to know God, wanting to know their Catholic faith, but there was a great ignorance, not only about their Catholic faith, but also about Catholic spirituality. And we made the decision we are not going to curse the darkness, because once you start to do that, you destroy your spirit. See?
So you just said something that I found very fascinating. I can't let it go without asking more questions, and that is the difference between the Catholic faith and Catholic spirituality.
Yeah. If you don't know much about your Catholic faith, how are you expected to know anything about Catholic spirituality? I'm now talking about our saints,
Okay.
and the different religious orders and communities and different brands of spirituality. They had hardly been acquainted with any of that. But rather than, as I said, curse the darkness, let's light candles. So I began putting together material that I would hand out to them whenever I met with them in group. So I had several groups all over the Diocese of Gaylord, meeting with them, giving them, passing out these handouts, teaching them how to pray, how to do daily face-to-face prayer with God. And I deliberately called it face-to-face because I said in any relationship, human or with God, it's only going to work if there is transparency and honesty. And if there is to be transparency and honesty, there cannot be shame.
That's so beautiful.
So if you are to become intimate with anybody, you can't have secrets.
That's right.
See? And so with God especially, that's where we begin. See? And so have you been forgiven? Have you forgiven yourself?
Exactly.
And then, have you forgiven others? And then, why are you living in your old creation even while you have been baptized?
So
And because
true.
you have been baptized, you've already been given a perfectible humanity to be perfected through prayer and the sacraments. So if you live in your new creation, then the old creation that you were gets healed. And what is this?
Wait, say that one more time because that's very important.
Yeah. If you live in your old creation, you're
Meaning
living
like from your
from your sin,
concupiscence,
from your hurts,
Right.
from your anger, from your upbringing that hasn't been as good as you would have liked. And you're so preoccupied with all of that that you then are only contacting God on occasion.
Usually you're angry.
On a consultancy
Mhm.
basis, or when you are helpless and overpowered by life.
Overwhelmed,
See?
yeah.
That's when you contact him, but that's not a relationship. That's an occasional acquaintance.
Right.
See, and so they're stuck in their sins, in their self-pity, in their anger, bitterness, shame, what have you. So forgiveness becomes a very, very difficult challenge. See?
Absolutely.
So once they understand that, and then they understand that you are to live as a new creation because Jesus signed this invitation to you in his blood through his
Amen.
death on the cross. And so he's basically saying, remain in me as I remain in you, and my remaining in you is permanent.
Yeah. So Michael, the one thing that's coming to mind is like, how do you get people, because there's all levels of brokenness and hurt, to start to just open that door just a little bit to Christ's love and healing presence? I mean, what is the gateway?
Yeah.
Or two, maybe.
So there are several aspects to that, but let me begin by what we tell our program guests
Okay.
when they come to us the evening of the retreat, which is generally a Sunday evening. Now, you can basically come up with three categories of people who come to us. We call them program guests. No, one category are people who have been so traumatized by life, either from the abuse that they have encountered, or the neglect, or upbringing where they, didn't get much. See, and consequently then have made decisions that they've
Sure.
regretted greatly and are really in a mess. So they've tried in different ways to get out of this mess. And unfortunately, in many instances, they've tried to do this through alcohol and
Sure.
drugs, pornography, etc., getting even more and more stuck.
More in slavery.
Yeah. And so when they come to Our Lady's Healing Center, it's almost a last recourse.
Really?
They don't say it, but you can sense. So their level of hope is almost at the bottom. And the level of despair and hopelessness, if not despair, hopelessness, is way up. So that's one category. Now you ask, how do you deal with them? Then you have another category. They've managed more or less with their abuse and their neglect, and say their weaknesses, their vulnerabilities, their defects, and are functioning well in society. Many of them are well married, they have children, they have successful professions, they are doing very well. See, but there is a secret. There's an ache, there's a hurt. They've done certain things that they have great regret about, and they don't want anyone to know it. And unfortunately, sometimes this can even happen in a marriage. So they're in a marriage, but this part is very secretive. They cannot be transparent.
Yeah, no vulnerability.
Yeah, right. Especially with their spouse, and then of course with God. So they're trapped. So while on the surface, publicly they're doing very well, privately they're living in a hell.
Oh, God bless them.
That's this, and you get many of these. Now these are difficult people because they've done well in life, they're self-starters in many instances. They've done well in life, but you can tell they don't really have joy or peace.
Right.
See, so they're limping, even while they don't want anyone to notice that they are limping. But people who are close to them, are quite concerned. And if they do come to Our Lady's Healing Center, it's because they trust someone who finally has told them, I believe this program will help you. So they might come reluctantly, but because they have some good habits established in life, they oftentimes turn out to be great candidates. Once we can convince them to adopt a vision that they've never had. Okay?
Right.
And then the third category are people who have had an encounter with Jesus, and they're moving along quite well. They're living in a state of grace. mortal sin is not really an issue, or addictive impulses that
Sure.
lands them in trouble or in the old creation. But they're looking for something deeper, because the stirrings in their hearts are deep, caused by the Holy Spirit. They're looking for something deeper, and they haven't found that kind of mentoring or that kind of program to help them. So these three categories, they come from these three categories to us. The first thing we tell them is, your vision has not worked. So let's all accept that.
I love that. It's like,
your
you've got to have
vision-
some humility to enter into the program. Thank you. Yes.
And you do have the humility, even
Yes.
though you might not admit it, or else you wouldn't come here.
Mm-hmm.
See? So we're all agreed that your way of living, your way of viewing the world has not worked. So let me offer you another way. See? So now you are hoping to move from where you are into being a new creation, even though you don't quite know what that is. So Jesus has told us very clearly what that is. He has told us, I have come, to divinize you. See? Now, this is a big word. And yet
It
this
is, and it can be kind of touchy sometimes,
right. And
too.
yet this is a word used by the fathers of the church quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
See? So yes, you will not become God, because to be God, you should have had no beginning, no end.
Right.
So in that sense, you won't become God, but you will be divinized. You will become like God. Jesus says that very clearly.
Yes.
So what he did was to take your old creation and mine into himself. He became your sin so that you could become his righteousness. Now, you don't have to believe me, but you can believe Jesus, can't you?
Yes.
At least in your head.
Yes.
And what I just said to you is not I who am saying this to you. I am being Jesus' spokesperson. So the first thing that Jesus says is, you are mine. I am your good shepherd.
You are God's gift to me.
You are God's gift to me. And that is why through me you have become my Father's daughter, my Father's son. And so we are now calling my Father our Father. And so I am your brother.
Wow.
And not only that, I know that if I came to you as the Son of God, you would be terrified. So I came to you in your nature as well. I came to your level. Even more, I lowered myself even lower than you and became your slave. That's how much I value you. That's how much my Father and the Holy Spirit value you.
It's beautiful.
So, from day one, however uncomfortable this you might be, Jesus wants you to dwell. He wants to dwell in your heart. So when you address him as dwelling within you. Now, this has far-reaching consequences.
Yeah.
Because whom do you place in your heart? You don't place poison. You don't place enemies. So even though you're uncomfortable with Jesus, he's telling you, I have never been uncomfortable with you.
Mm-hmm.
I've longed to hold you in my arms. See? And I've tried this time and time again. You would not allow me. And now I'm hoping that you will rest in my arms. See? So, it doesn't matter what you are feeling. It doesn't matter what you are thinking. It doesn't matter what memories from the past you are bringing to yourself. It doesn't matter how enraged and anger and bitter you might feel. Jesus is saying to you, we are a hyphenated identity.
A hyphenated. Okay, explain that one.
Pam dash Jesus.
Oh, that's that's a little much to take.
See? And so, however uncomfortable you might be, the reality is, the truth is, he and you are one in a covenant union.
By virtue of baptism, confirmation?
Virtue of baptism and the sacraments. No? And you are receiving the sacraments on a regular basis, so you are literally being immersed in the life of Jesus, participating. See, and then I go on to tell them, you are God's image and likeness. You know that from the catechism you receive.
Sure.
You are God's image and likeness. Have you ever realized that you are the Blessed Trinity's image and likeness? If you are the Blessed Trinity's image and likeness, the Blessed Trinity is community, is family.
Yes.
And so everything that you do, that you are, can only be understood and appreciated in relationship.
In relationship. Okay. So let me kind of play this back a little bit, because I think it's so good and so rich. So you're saying that our identity as like a child of God, like the Jesus within me, is only expressed in a form of community, whether it's in our family or in our church community, or maybe just extended community as well. So that's the expression of Christ that lives in me. Oh, I love that.
And whether we like it or not, because we are his image and likeness, everything that we do is patterned after life in the Blessed Trinity.
Right, being the light to the world.
And so this is why Jesus says, I want you to live that life without sin. And Jesus does not lower his standards for us, knowing that we have feet of clay and that we do fail over and over, but he will not lower his standards for us, even though he knows we will struggle with our human condition with sin, because he says, be you perfect as my heavenly Father. Be you merciful as my heavenly Father.
Yes.
He does not cut us any slack. He will not.
Okay, so let's take it back to, like, at these retreats, is it both men and women on any given time? Is it all men, all women? I know spirituality can be different.
Yeah, but because of all the abuse that has taken place, it's not good to have them all together. So we have retreats only for women, retreats only for men.
Gotcha. Okay.
So even if, say, a married couple wants to make the retreat, the wife will do her retreat with the women, the man with the men.
Okay, so this has happened simultaneously on the campus?
No.
Just different times?
Different times.
Okay.
Right.
And so how often are you having the retreats?
So we are trying, we were having like 2 retreats a month, maybe even 3 at times, but we've decided let us have more coming in rather than doing retreats for 1 or 2. So currently we're trying to have a group of anywhere from 4 to 6, and we might even move it up to 8. See? So when you have a group of 6, we then have a group session where I do a lot of teaching, and much of the teaching is along the lines of the way I've been speaking to you.
Nice. Thank you for that. Yeah.
And then we have individual sessions with them, with each one. Along with that, then we have daily mass. They have a chance to go to the sacrament of reconciliation. We have daily adoration, an hour-long adoration, during which we do the scriptural rosary as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so I'm assuming that you have a priest on staff,
So
perhaps?
we don't have a priest on staff, but the local parish has committed to offering us mass and the Sacraments.
That's very generous.
Every time we do a retreat. So we have benefited greatly from their generosity.
Yeah. So they have more than
Tremendous.
one. They have
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
priest and a
Yeah.
parochial.
And then we have a deacon now
Yay.
on board with us. And so Deacon John manages, he's the director of the liturgy, and for instance, during the retreat on Thursday, which is the last day of adoration, hour of adoration that we have, what he does during the hour of adoration, he goes before each retreatant with the Blessed Sacrament exposed for about 30 seconds to 45 seconds so that they can, So we
Can I pause you just a second?
Yes.
I've experienced that only once in my life, and I wasn't expecting it, and it was so powerful.
Yeah.
Like literally within about a foot of my face to have
Yes.
the monstrance there. It's just
Right.
very overwhelming and beautiful.
So we hope during the retreat to get them to be convinced and to accept Jesus's vision, not because we are saying it, but
Nice.
because he is saying it, but
Right.
understanding that we are saying it because we have been transformed
Right.
as we are hoping they will be transformed, even while we have a journey to take.
Right. Now you were saying this does like it. So you have the 5-day retreat, and then it's followed up by sessions for a year.
For a
Is
year.
it in the group
So-
still or individual?
No. So during the 5-day retreat, they are accompanied by their spiritual companion. Now, these spiritual companions are being trained as spiritual directors. Some of them are already certified, but we deliberately call them companions.
Yes.
Because they are journeying they are accompanying program guests. So we have an aftercare program that is very user-friendly. And they meet
You said aftercare, right?
Aftercare for 12 months. They meet with their program guest every week, either over the phone or through a Zoom meeting. And what's fascinating is that the aftercare program has 4 categories to it. We offer them a recommendation, which is generally a spiritual practice, that they need to really get acquainted with and make part of their lifestyle as disciples. So we give them 12 different ones. And we ask them every week, try to read the recommendation once or twice a week so that it really becomes part of you. Some of them are you a miracle? Are you living as a miracle? Is life miraculous? So it's a probing question.
Yeah, like do you live in awe and wonder of the world around you? Yeah.
Another one is, are you full of gratitude? Are you grateful all the time? Are you even grateful for the difficulties and challenges that you have? Because God is using everything to provide a golden opportunity for deeper union.
I have a question that really lends itself to this conversation too, which I've long heard, but you can strike me straight if I'm wrong. But by our nature, our brains were wired for fight or flight. So we're wired a little more toward the negative in our human concupiscence. But indeed, it's our Catholic faith that then begins to rewire us to be centered toward God.
Perfect, the way you put it. But the big question is, why have you stayed so long, in your brain being wired with
Negative and sin.
When you were baptized, and already in baptism, you were given the new
Michael,
rewiring.
I'm going to answer that question. We just didn't know there's a better way.
So we don't blame anybody. But once again, if you start that, you will never end. So why not start lighting candles rather than curse the darkness?
Exactly. But I love how you're doing this centered on
Because
Jesus' words.
as soon as you go off on that tangent, you're lost. You're on a slippery slope.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're able to unlock these doors
Yes,
many of these
yes.
people bring.
So that's one category. The other category is purpose of the month. We start with laying your foundation. It has a lot of cracks in it. So let's repair your foundation. Second month, deepening your foundation. And then as you move along, really building a solid foundation on rock. And some of those questions that we have is, are you forgiving?
Mm.
Consistently, regardless of what's coming at you. See? Are you identifying with the crucified Jesus? Which would mean that in some way you see meaning in suffering.
Yes,
See?
yes. Wait, I love that. That when you see the crucified Christ and can identify with it, that means you understand the beauty in suffering.
Yes.
Wow. I
Now,
love that.
Deacon John's wife, Laura, who works for us full time, and I need to give credit to her. She put it very well 2 weeks ago when we were completing the spiritual exercises of St. Ignatius over 6 months. Because all the spiritual companions who are training to be spiritual directors in our institute had to participate in that. Laura put it very well when she said, I am not here. Healing is not being free from suffering. So if you look at the cross that the Protestants have, there's no corpus. If you look at the cross that Catholics have, there is the corpus. So she says, healing is not freedom from suffering. In other words, having only resurrection, no passion, crucifixion, death. She said, healing is freedom to suffer.
Freedom to suffer. Wow.
Which means that you see everything from God's perspective, and therefore as a blessing that you've already received or you are in the process of receiving.
Right. Just like we would say, lend me your heart, Lord, or lend me your eyes to see the world as you see it. Mm-hmm.
And then you have the evaluation at the end of the month where we ask them, how are you doing? Because they need to develop their own internal authority about this relationship that they have with God. So we are helping them become good spiritual directors to themselves. See, but before that, we have a list of spiritual practices for them to do on a daily basis. One of them is to read 2 chapters from the Gospels and the Acts of the Apostles month after month. So first month, Matthew. If you read 1 chapter, you would read Matthew in 1 month. If you read 2 chapters, you would read Matthew twice. If you then second month, Mark, you could easily read Mark twice because he has 16 chapters. Then comes Luke. You can read him 1.5 times. And then John. And then Acts. And then you start over again. Almost always what's happening is as they start doing this, they want more. And so then they go into the letters of Paul. And then by the end of the aftercare, we say, make it a practice for the rest of your life to read the Bible from cover to cover, maybe taking a year and a half, but keep doing it. And you will find with a good Catholic study Bible, you will have become.
Now that I have you here, the expert, I've come across some people that are active in the church, love the Lord, but will tell me, no, I haven't really had that personal encounter you talk about, that real intimacy with God. But they love him. They go to mass regularly. They participate in activities to serve him throughout the church. What would you say is a place to start for someone?
I would say 2 or 3 things.
There's some healing that's needed.
One is maybe they need to find out or to discover that they are much holier than they give themselves credit for. And in discrediting their holiness, in a way, they are discrediting the good work that the Holy Spirit has done in them. So it's a way of assessing who they are.
So
So,
you're saying that they're only limiting themselves, not that they haven't had an
yeah,
encounter that they've not felt
right,
worthy to have an
right,
encounter. Is that what you're
right.
saying?
And also,
Ah,
so they're looking at their relationship with God primarily from their perspective, rather than looking at it from God's perspective. So, for
mm-hmm.
instance, in the nightly examination of conscience, it is much more important to spend time on how God has behaved toward
Yes,
you,
yes,
which is being
yes,
filled with gratitude
yes,
and praise.
yes.
And
Thank
within that
you.
context,
Yeah.
looking at your sinfulness.
Mm,
Well, when you do that, you begin to see how generous God is. And you begin to see that maybe your assessment of yourself was pretty myopic.
mm-hmm.
eh? And that too, in a way, is the result of sin. Because with sin, our horizons are very limited. We can hardly see beyond our noses. So these are good people. That's one answer I would have.
Mm-hmm.
The other answer I would have is that maybe they have this hesitation because there are certain areas of their lives where they are particularly vulnerable.
Or don't want to be vulnerable.
Or don't want to be, but and
Right.
yet are restless and uneasy. Entryways of evil influence. Another term for that would be portals or
Mm,
gateways.
mm-hmm.
St. Ignatius calls that the particular examination of conscience because he was convinced from his own experience and the direction he offered that many people have a particular weakness, and however generous they might be, that's basically what's causing their downfall over and over again, so that they
Right.
get so obsessed with this weakness that they can't see the whole picture. So another question would be, maybe you're the right candidate for good spiritual direction, to
Yes.
get an honest assessment, not only from your perspective, but from
Yeah.
God's perspective.
Right. Well, I want to ask you some more questions. It could be more the nuts and bolts of things because we're winding down our time already
Okay.
about Our Lady's Healing Center. So, if some of our listeners are listening today and they're interested in finding out more about the center itself, the best thing to do is
Go to our website,
okay,
ourladieshealingcenter.com,
okay,
and they can get all the information there is, and they can make a make a phone call,
okay.
and we will answer them promptly and give them all answers to all their questions.
So, is the center full most of the time? Is it like
Um, since we've just
weekends?
begun, I would say it's not full most of the time. And so there are always some openings in every one of our retreats. And
Right.
our calendar for retreats is posted on the website.
Okay. So, you can find that at
Yes.
Our Ladies, LADYS,
Center.
healingcenter.com in Seadrift, Texas.
Yes.
And check out their website. The photography is amazing. I think I just took a deep breath and sighed like I was right there at the beach. It's so beautiful. Good job, John, over there about all that photography. Um, and so basically, that's the primary type of retreat you offer is just the healing retreat. Is there any other
We offer
secondary
healing
ones?
retreats. We offer silent directed retreats.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Deacon John is developing our media ministry. So
Oh,
I've
the
already
podcast.
we've already set up a podcast, Making Great Saints, where he basically is interviewing me or asking me to talk on different topics.
Okay, is that your standard found where your favorite podcast platform, right? Is that what we say? Okay, okay. So
Yeah.
Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the
So
different
I
ones,
do think
right?
that's going to be a very significant arm of our ministry,
Okay.
um,
Yeah. Well,
evangelizing through the media. Then we also, I think, are developing a program to help our clergy,
wonderful.
through healing retreats, uh, uh, through spiritual direction if they wish for it. They can come for silent directed retreats. See, and then we also spend a lot of energy and time on making sure to train our spiritual companions to be
Exactly.
effective spiritual directors.
Yeah.
And anyone can avail of that program, but it's an in person
Amazing.
It's a, they have
Yeah.
to be there once a month.
Which I want to say the detail about where Seadrift actually is, because I was a little bit confused. It's 45 minutes from Victoria. It is in the Diocese of Victoria, 3 hours from Houston, and about an hour and 20 minutes from Corpus, if you're kind of wondering in location, right?
Yes.
Okay. Fantastic.
Yeah.
I wish you so much success at this healing, because heaven knows, I think that in my personal journey has been, until you have healing, you cannot grow more closely to Christ, because the lack of healing and the woundedness is the barrier to being closer and having more
Right.
intimacy.
And then I would add to that, if healing is to be lasting, it's not enough to know about Jesus. It's not even enough to know Jesus. You've got to
Right.
know Jesus in the depths
Of
of
your
your
heart.
heart
Yes.
and in the depths of his heart.
That's wonderful.
Then it
Yes.
will be lasting.
Well, on that note, I'm going to thank you very much for making the trip to Bryan College Station. We're so glad you did. And until next time, go and love your neighbor.